What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to episode number 12 of our First Down Training show. What we're going to be going over today is we're going to be talking about the most painful thing that I went through as a football player and some lessons that you guys can learn from that. Then we're going to be going over some current events. We're going to be talking about how Quinn Ewers thinks he's the best quarterback in the draft and why I kind of disagree with that, and how I think it's a great thing the Steelers are leaning more towards Justin Fields in the offseason than Russell Wilson. Then we're going to be answering a couple of your guys' questions at the end of this video. So guys, appreciate you tuning in. Let's get started. So the most painful thing I went through as a player was not an injury. It was my first ever varsity start. So my first ever varsity start, I prepared so much. If you guys watched our previous episode on kind of my story and how I developed from like a junior in high school to a senior in high school, and you know, some of the work that I put in, some of the adversity that I had to battle with like politics, coaching politics, I was ready, man. I worked the entire offseason for this very first game. I went to Los Alamitos High School in Southern California, and our first game was against Long Beach Poly. So Long Beach Poly was like 7th ranked in the state at the time. They had 4 stars, 5-star quarterback all over the field, right? Talented team. And I went into that game genuinely thinking like we have a really, really good chance of beating this team. And what a story it would be if my first varsity start is beating this highly ranked team against a quarterback who was committed to USC at the time. His name was Matt Corral, if you're familiar with that. And then he ended up bouncing around a little bit, but he was a USC commit at the time. So I'm like, what an opportunity, because I know it's going to be a high profile game. Scouts will be watching this game. It's on TV. Let's go to work, right? So first half, I probably played perfectly. I remember my first pass of the game was like a 45, 50-yard completion on a deep post, and then I had a rushing touchdown after the fact. And I think I finished the half like maybe like 11 for 12, and I think I honestly remember the stats. I had passed for like 190 yards just in the first half, right? So I'm on pace for almost a 400-yard passing game. I have a touchdown. I remember going into half thinking, man, like we got this. This isn't even that hard. Like this is like they're not even that good. And I went into that halftime super confident, insanely confident, feeling good about myself, ready to go out to the second half. And then in that second half, I came out, I threw 5, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 interceptions. Lost us the game single-handedly. Went from here to bottom of the barrel, probably as low as you can go from a feeling perspective. Now, not to darken the mood or anything, but that's what happened. I remember coming out, and I just wasn't seeing the field. I was overthrowing guys, underthrowing fade balls, checking out of plays when thinking the coverage was something else, and then making a wrong read, throwing a pick, hit after I threw, late hit. Just probably the worst half of football that you could ever have. I would have pulled me. My coaches left me in, and I actually appreciate that from them. But probably the worst feeling I've ever had. Like genuinely, like, you know, like I've never really experienced like real loss, you know what I mean? Like, you know, both my parents are still alive. Like, you know, I haven't really experienced like real life issues. It's kind of like, you know, immature to say that that's the hardest thing I've ever dealt with, but it's true. I mean, to this point, it is true. That was probably the lowest I ever felt, because like that was the thing that I cared about the absolute most, was football, and how I conducted myself at that time, and how my teammates thought of me, and how my teammates looked at me as a leader, and I completely blew it. Like single-handedly. Like it wasn't like Poly hung 56 points on us and we scored 21. It was like Poly only scored like 14 and we like had 7. And we just like, or maybe it was like probably like 20-7 or something like that. So it wasn't like this big gap. It wasn't like it wouldn't have mattered anyways. It was like literally I was single-handedly losing the game, nobody else. It wasn't like receivers were running wrong routes. It was single-handedly me. I have no rhyme or reason as to why it happened. I can't sit there and tell you that I could have done this better physically and now looking back at it, or like I could have made this read better, I could have done that. It was just in the moment, like just bad decision making. Like literally the lowest feeling I've ever had, right? So I remember after the game, just you know, trying to stay strong, go to the locker room. Obviously, nobody's talking to you at this point because you just lost the game for everybody, right? And like, you know, like you some teammates here and there will be like, hey, it's okay, man, but you know they're just saying that, like they know they're pissed, right? And so I remember put my headphones on, put my hood on, I just walked to the bus, and we got in the bus, we got to the school, I got my car, I drove the in and out. Had some in and out, just sat in my car and cried for like probably 45 to 50 minutes, like just sitting there, empty parking lot, not in a good neighborhood either, and just crying my eyes out. And then I go home, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and I had a decision to make. Do I sit there and, you know, sulk about it and let that loss get to me, or do I figure out a way to climb back and figure out a way to, no, I'm not going to let this failure define who I am. Failure defines who you are as a person and as a man. 100% fact. If you fail, how are you going to respond? If you fail in a relationship, if you fail in a business, if you fail in a sporting event like how I failed, that is going to define you whether you like it or not. Not the failure itself, how you respond to that failure. So I screwed up big time. I knew it. I knew it more than anybody. I didn't need anybody to tell me that I screwed up. But I could have just sulked about it. I could have quit. I could have just, had a mopey attitude and really I'd be like, I suck, whatever. Go into practice, not study film, not try to learn from my mistakes, and then I probably would have been benched. But you know what I did Saturday morning? I got up real early, studied, went to work, looked at film. Okay, what went wrong? My quarterback coach was sending me texts. I was texting him. I think I texted him first, like, hey, let's figure this out. And so I realized, okay, I did this wrong. I did that wrong. Let's learn from these mistakes. Okay, let's flush it. Let's get on to the next week. Who are we playing next week? Lakewood. Okay, cool. Let's focus on Lakewood. How can I prepare? The problems with Poly was that I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what coverages they were coming out in. I didn't know what defensive guys they had. I didn't understand their personnel, who were their best guys. I just thought I was going to roll in, we were going to do what we do, and we were going to win. That's not how you win football games, especially at a high level of high school football, college football, and especially in the NFL. And NFL guys know that. Never played in the NFL, but I know that that's 10 times what I'm experiencing at this high school level at the time. So I'm preparing like that. I'm preparing like a savage. I'm watching 3 to 4 hours of film every single night of the week, Monday through Friday. I'm at school. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not talking to teachers because I was pissed and I wanted to prove everybody wrong, because you hear the talk. People saying that, oh, this guy sucks. Like, what the hell? Like, he's bad. This is not good. I had teachers talking to teammates saying that I wasn't good and that they should play somebody else. Teachers. Full-grown adults. And I'm having to sit there and deal with that as a 17-year-old kid. I think I was 16 at the time. But I never let it got to me. I just focused on the work. I just focused on, okay, yeah, I effed up bad, but I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to be a better player for it. And I'm going to prepare because I never want to feel that feeling again. So why do I explain all this to you? And I will say this. Did I ever throw an interception after that? Yeah, I did. But I think I only threw 4 after that. I finished the season with 9. Threw 5. Through 4 more the rest of the season. So it's one of those things where it's like you learn from your failures, you guys. Failure is not failure. It's a chance to learn. And you have to look at it like that. You can't look at like everybody talks about failing and I don't want to be a failure, yada yada. It's like they look at it like it's just this final thing. It's not. And it's like a David Goggins, he talks about this a lot. He's a guy that I've watched a lot of stuff on him. He talks about how it's not failure, it's a failed attempt. You have a second attempt, a third attempt, a fourth attempt. That's how you look at games. You have a bad game, okay, that was my first attempt. My second attempt, my third attempt, fourth attempt. I know I'm not going to make the same mistakes that I made that first attempt. So if you're an athlete and you're going through any type of failure, maybe you didn't make a team, maybe you didn't perform well at a 7-on-7 tournament, maybe you didn't perform well at a camp, it's an attempt. Learn from it. What went wrong? Learn from those mistakes and don't make those same mistakes twice. Because that's what I did. And every week I made sure that I prepared like a psychopath, watching hours of film. I would be in my backyard, I would shut my eyes and I would envision the defense that they were going to be coming out in that game on Friday and what my reads were, what my progressions were. I worked with my teammates for hours after practice. I did all the extra work because I never wanted to feel that way again. That's how you have to respond to failure. Because failure, how you respond to failure will define who you are, especially as a man. So guys, take the opportunity. If you fail, good. Failure is good. That means that you are going to learn. That's the only way that you can learn. People talk a lot about like experience, right? Like if you're like a high school guy and you're looking for a job, it's like, okay, what kind of job experience do you have? And they're like, they want to hire like, new people, but like they also maybe want to hire somebody who has experience in that field, right? And experience comes from making mistakes. So you need to make mistakes. You need to fail if you're ever going to elevate your skills, if you're ever going to elevate your game, or if you're ever going to elevate as a person. And that's all I have to say about that. So guys, now we're going to get into some current events. We're going to be talking about some stories from the week from the NFL. But if you are a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, you guys, we are going to be traveling out to 10 more cities across the entire U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. So next up on our camp tour, guys, we're going to be coming out to Las Vegas, Nevada. Then we'll be heading out to Seattle, Washington, then Chicago, Illinois, Newark, New Jersey, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Columbus, Ohio. Then we'll be heading out to Boise, Idaho, and finishing off our tour in Los Angeles, California. So guys, want some more information? You want to sign up for any one of those camps? Go to that very first link in the description below. I will say though, our Vegas and Seattle camps are completely sold out, but every camp after that, we have about 6 more spots remaining. Guys, they will sell out before the end of March. And the reason why they sell out is we limit spots. We limit it so we can work with each athlete individually and coach them up individually. So guys, make sure you take advantage. Again, very first link in that description below. We'd love to see you there. So now, let's get into some current events, and then we'll be talking about some of your guys' questions. So, current event number 1, the Steelers are leaning more so towards Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. I think that's great. I wish they would have rolled with Justin Fields this past year. I don't think he did anything wrong. I mean, Russell did good. He didn't play bad, but I like Justin Fields, man. I like his attitude. I like the confidence that he has. I like that he can run. I think his passing got a lot better from when he switched to Pittsburgh from his time in Chicago. So I think that's great news. I hope they stick it out with Justin Fields, and I hope they give him another chance because I feel like that's kind of the spark that they need is Justin Fields, and I think that he's a better fit for the Steelers than Russell Wilson would be. It's not that I don't like Russell Wilson, but I'm a huge Justin Fields guy. So that's what I would say about that. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section too as well. Now, current event number 2, Quinn Ewers says he is the best quarterback in the draft. I don't know, listen, Quinn Ewers is good. Played at Texas. They made a deep playoff run. You know, he plays high-level football, highly recruited guy. Am I the only one who doesn't think he's that great? Like from an NFL standard, don't get me wrong, the dude can flat out throw the ball. Anybody who gives criticism on football players and they don't preface this, I get pissed because it's you don't understand how good that guy is. If he's in t-shirt and shorts and you see him at a field, you're that's the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. Until you put him next to Tom Brady, then you're oh, okay, that's the guy. Or you put him next to Aaron Rodgers, oh, that's how that's supposed to look. You know what I mean? So I'm saying this from an NFL standard. I just don't think there's a whole lot to be hyped up about with him. I think when they played, God, I forget who it was. Was it Georgia? I forget who it was, but he did not look good, man. There were a lot of throws where he's missing behind. He's got a really wide arm slot, and not the lower arm slot that's good, like the Patrick Mahomes or the Josh Allen or the Rodgers. It's kind of one of those really extended arm slots that can cause him to miss behind guys and miss too far in front. I'm just not sold on Quinn Ewers. Again, I'd love to hear what you guys think about him in the comments section, but it's just I'm not the biggest Quinn Ewers guy. Maybe I'm a hater. I just don't feel I feel like he's got great arm strength, but I feel like Cam Ward, Shador, Jackson Dart, even Will Howard from Ohio State, I feel like I would take all those guys over him. I just don't feel like he's the best in the NFL draft. That's just my opinion. But anyways, so guys, now we're going to get into some of your questions. So guys, on every single episode at the very end, we answer 2 to 3 questions that you guys have left on previous videos. So guys, if you want your questions featured on the show, go to the comments section, type a question out. I read every single question, and I will feature them on this episode if I feel like it can give you a lot of value. So guys, seriously, I appreciate you tuning in. We really do, and we appreciate you watching our longer form videos. So now let's get into question number 1 from Samuel Hurleyman. Thanks again, man, for tuning in. I appreciate it, seriously. He asked, if you transfer, does the coach pick the position, or do you tell him what position you are? Generally, you tell him what position you are when you transfer in. So you transfer in and be hey, coach, I'm joining football. I play receiver. Hey, coach, I'm joining football. I play tight end. And then if you don't perform at that spot, then maybe he'll try to switch you over to a different position. But generally, you tell him where you're going to play, and that's where you start out, at least. Now, when you transfer to a school, I would say make sure that they have a need for that position. I think a lot of times, at the quarterback position, quarterbacks are always transferring. They generally go to a school that needs a quarterback, and it's generally communicated with the coach beforehand that they need a quarterback, even if it's legal or under the table or hush-hush. It's generally how it goes. So I would maybe try contacting your coach before you're there and just be hey, coach, I'm a class of 2026 blank, class 2026 receiver, 2027 receiver, and just to let him know that that's where you are and where you see yourself fitting in. Okay, so hope that makes sense, dude. I appreciate you asking that question. Now, next question from Thomas Loren. I'm talking about the 7-on-7 video that I made last week where I was kind of crapping on 7-on-7. He's asking, does your 7-on-7 hatred come from comparing it to 11-on-11? Essentially, yes. I mean, I don't hate 7-on-7. I hate aspects of 7-on-7, but I don't hate it outright. But I feel like it just doesn't prepare guys as well for 11 on 11, because that's why you played 7 on 7 in the first place. This is what it used to be, right? Like, you're making the argument, like, like 7 on 7 teams, like, that's guys just playing football and they just want to play only 7 on 7. Hey, fine, mazel tov, like, great, good for you, that's totally cool. But 7 on 7 was invented to get you ready for the fall. That's why it was invented. That's why they came up with 7 on 7. It was not its own league. It does not get anybody recruited to play in college. If you're playing it for fun, that's one thing. Hey, good for you. But if you're playing 7 on 7 to work on your skills, it needs to be realistic. That's where my hatred from it comes. Because you get quarterbacks taking a 1-step drop and then throwing under center. Like, they get a quarterback taking a 3-step drop and takes 5 hitches going through his progressions. You have unrealistic play concepts that won't translate to 11 on 11. That's what I don't like about the game. I would rather have quarterbacks need realistic footwork, realistic passing concepts, realistic defensive coverages, not 2-man every single time. And I think that will translate great to 11 on 11. But I just feel like it's not real football at a certain point. Okay? So I hope that makes sense, dude. But I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you watching that video. I know that video got a decent amount of views, so seriously, I hope that was able to help. But anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Seriously, episode number 12 of our First Down Training Show. Again, if you have questions, post them in the comments section below. We'll feature them on our next episode. And again, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in. See you next time.